And without further ado, please welcome Mark Cuban.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
You got these chairs here ready. A lot of veterans are out here. Let's have a seat. It's my first time actually seeing you here. I know you came in, and a lot of our veterans were like, we want to know how Mark can help us with some good entrepreneurship advice because we want to start our businesses. And you have a lot of veteran-owned businesses that you support. Yep. So what's the first thing you notice in these, what makes them different, these veterans from civilians?
Well, you know, first of all, thank you to everybody for your service. There's nothing more important, and I don't get to do what I do unless you do what you do, so thank you. You know, I'd say that the primary difference in veteran entrepreneurs is perseverance. You know, you're used to having your back up against the wall. You're used to, you know, fighting through the muck. You're used to the insane bureaucracy that you've had to deal with that comes for business. And I think there's a little bit more patience too. A little bit more, perseverance is a better word, because being an entrepreneur, there aren't a lot of rules. And everything comes at you really fast, and you have to think on your feet. And I think having that veteran mentality and that background really makes it easier and makes you more suited for being an entrepreneur.
Awesome. And you know, I was looking through, you know, we have our Riveter, we have Bottle Breacher. Yep. Tell me how you felt about Bottle Breacher first and their product and why you decided to jump in.
Well, first, anybody here watch Shark Tank? If you don't turn it on every Friday, I'm going to hunt you down. Yeah, obviously, I'm a big fan of veteran-owned and operated businesses, and so we've got a couple of them here. Our Riveter, and what I liked about what Lisa and Cameron, you asked me about Bottle Breach. I'll start with our Riveter.
Sure.
So we've got Lisa and Cameron back there, and what I loved about what they were doing is they were working with military spouses, which was very original, and I like that. You know, they took an original idea and turned it into a business, because the reality is, obviously every single person in this room has an idea. Every person in the world has an idea, and you know how you get that feeling in your stomach, and you're like, this is a great idea. And then you talk to your friends and family, and they say, you know, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? And they say, I like it. Then you go on Google and you look, there's nothing there. Right?
Yeah.
And then people stop.
Right.
With our Riveter, they kept on going. And one of the things that I really liked about what they were doing is that it was a hard business to organize. They have different accessories, from purses to bags, you name it. And what they do that's unique is, and they're going to come on and talk, so I don't want to steal their thunder, but they work with military spouses and each spouse has a special feature or special quality that they add to the bag. And so each bag has its own story. And not only did they have a product, they gone from idea step to product phase, but they were actually selling them and having some success. Because going through, people, you know, when you start a business and you get past that stage, a lot of people tend to think, well, the first thing I have to do is raise money. That's usually the worst thing you can do, right? And the reason that's bad is the minute if I give you my money, what do I want?
Equity.
I want money. I want everything back. I want to make money from it, right? And when you're just starting up a business, there's a lot of different challenges that make that challenging. And so, you know, you guys are used to sacrificing. You guys are used to, you know, making a lot out of a little. And those are great qualities for starting a business, because for every business that you start, you have to ask yourself, what about my business is unique and how can I sell it? I'm going to give you Mark Cuban rule number 1. And whenever you forget this rule, you're already out of business. In every business, sales cures all. Has anybody ever heard of a business that had 0 sales that was successful? Doesn't happen. Yet, a lot of people start their business thinking, I have a great idea. I'm going to do this. This is amazing. I'm going to go raise money. I just sold this idea. And then it comes back and it's like, okay, you got to sell that product, or you got to sell that service. That's the first and main key to a successful business. And with Bottle Breacher, Eli, I mean, they know how to sell. With our Riveter, They know how to sell. They were selling online. They were selling in stores. They had started to conquer the step of, okay, how do I sell my product or service? When you're getting ready to start, you have to answer that question. It's not about how much money you can possibly raise. The one commonality that I see on companies that have failed, they think that raising money was an accomplishment. Raising money is not an accomplishment, it's an obligation. Right? My first company that I started, I was living 6 guys in a 3-bedroom apartment eating mustard and ketchup sandwiches. No lie, slept on the floor, had 1 towel. 1. I wish I still had that towel. And then, things got better and I grew it from there. But learning how to work from nothing when you start your business is a quality that really helps you. And so you need to, I always say this, sweat equity is the best equity there is. And I would tell you, whatever you can do to start a business without raising money, even if it means you have to wait. I worked as a bartender at night. I worked selling software during the day until I got fired. Whatever you have to do to save a little bit of money or to put yourself in a position to not have to raise money, that's always a positive.
Wow. A lot of these veteran-owned businesses that you support, I'm sure when they collaborate with you and you decide to mentor them, what is some of the process that you go through?
You know what? These guys will tell you, I'm not Mr. Mentor. I'm not the one who says, let's sit down, tell me how it's going.
Oh.
I'm going to tell you exactly how I am. Get off your ass and get out there and sell something.
That's right.
I've never been I need a mentor. A lot of people look for mentors thinking they're going to tell me the shortcut. Mark, will you be my mentor? You know the way. And they think I'm going to go, ooh, and like, convey some magics. Here's the dust. Go, go, go. It doesn't work that way. I still grind. I love to grind. If you're competing in one of my businesses, I'm going to kick your ass because I'm going to outgrind you, right? That's what being an entrepreneur is. You've got to get out there and do the work. So when it comes to how do you learn, right? Because that's the question. How do I learn this stuff? Man, everybody has got to go through that process, right? I'm in the tech business, I'm in the media business, the entertainment business. I've got to try to prepare myself for all the Shark Tank businesses. I read 3 hours plus a day, right? Well, everybody else is getting a suntan, or even when I'm getting a suntan, I'm online or I've got books, I'm reading all I can. I'll give you the perfect example. People like to say, what's next in technology? Artificial intelligence, deep learning, machine learning, neural networks. I don't know shit about any of that, but I need to. And so right now, everything I'm reading is related to those topics. Because if you can give yourself a knowledge edge, when you go out there to sell, you can put yourself in the shoes of your customer, particularly if you're in the technology business, and give yourself an advantage. And so I'm not a big fan, there's been a lot of people who've used mentors great, particularly in the military. There's a lot of great mentoring services for veteran-owned businesses. I'm not trying to disparage those and say, but for me and for people that I invest in, I'm more about, on-the-job training, get out there, learn, put yourself in a position to learn, go out there, talk to customers, go out there and go through the process. The process will teach you more than a mentor will.
Right, and I'm learning that from you. Yeah, no mentor, just straight up. And a lot of our veterans, they get out and they watch Shark Tank, they see you and they're like, you know what, I want to create a business. Is that a bad mentality?
No, look, all of us, that's why you're here, right? There's part of you that either wants to create a business or you obviously already have created a business. The hardest part is taking that first step, right? There's always that line, like I was talking about earlier, that you have to take a step past. But the thing, people always say, well, you're not afraid to start a business. Why aren't you? It's terrifying, or, it scares me to do it. And my attitude has always been, if you're prepared, it's not a risk, right? Bobby Knight, who was the coach at Indiana University, used to say, everybody's got the will to win, but it's only those with the will to prepare that do win. And the same applies to business. We've all seen our friends go out there and just wing it. It's my passion. We're all passionate about something. I'm passionate about basketball. Doesn't make me an NBA player, right? It's not just about passion. It's not just about saying I'm doing it. It's not even about incorporating. It's not about the idea. It's about, are you prepared and are you willing to do the work? And that should sound very familiar to each and every one of you.
Now, a lot of our veterans, they get out and it's hard for them to get a job. And, they try to grind, but they still want to create a business. So a lot of them tend to go toward these loans. What are your thoughts on loans?
Hate them. I wish they outlawed them, right? The payday loans. Yeah, I mean, don't get me started. Look, if you want to be rich, the first thing you should do is pay off your credit cards. Right? If you have a payday loan, if you have a loan, pay it off. Because that's the boat anchor that's going to hold you back. They're merciless. No mercy. Right? There's no upside to you. Look, I get how difficult it is. I mean, I've been there where I've come home and the lights are out. And I've had to go down to the utility company and explain why this new account that I just opened up and this check is going to clear even though the last 5 haven't, right? Or when, you look at your phone and it's a bill collector. And look, it's not always easy, but at the same time, going and trying, you've got to, there's just no way to get over that hump by taking a payday loan or a high interest rate loan or a prepaid credit card with a high interest rate. It's really tempting, and you think to yourself, well, if I just do this, I know I can work my way through to pay it off and get to the next level. And as someone who's had their Sears, their Amex, their Visa, their MasterCard all cut up in front of them, right? It's the biggest boat anchor that you could ever ask for when it comes to your life or starting a business.
That's interesting. I didn't know that about loans. So I know some of us have loans, and it's actually.
Look, if you got it, you got it, right? I mean, and you work to pay them off, and that's just the way it goes. What I'm saying is, there aren't a lot of, 17, 19, 20, 29%. There aren't a lot of investments that you can make that give you that kind of return. And a startup doesn't give you that kind of return unless you get really lucky. So if you're paying 20% and you can't earn 20%, it doesn't work. You automatically, by definition, you fall further and further behind. And that's not to take anything away from the difficulty of all of it. It's hard, right? It's very hard. And it's harder these days than it was when I was getting through it. But at the same time, the math is the math. So whatever you can do to avoid it, whatever you can do to just pay off your credit cards, do it.
Now, before you came here, there was a lot of veteran-owned businesses. There was a clothing company, there was a cybersecurity company, and there was even a chef. Is there a certain sector that you could recommend our veterans to get into if they want to get into entrepreneurship?
I was never the one to chase a sector. Oh, this is hot. Because you have to ask yourself, who are you competing with? And whatever you do, you have to ask yourself, what's your edge? Right? What is the one thing that gives you a competitive edge? If you don't have an answer, you can't start that company. You're going to lose. Right? I said it before, if you're trying to compete with me, you better know a whole lot more than I do about whatever business we're in, because otherwise, I'm going to kick your ass. Right? So you have to ask yourself, what is your competitive advantage? And with that competitive advantage, what's the best way for me to get customers who are willing to write me a check? One of my skill sets has always been, I've been able to walk into any type of business and understand their company. Understand how they make money, understand how they compete. So I can walk into a shoe store, I can walk into a hospital or whatever and say, all right, here's my technology, here's how it gives you an advantage. And I try to do the same thing. On Shark Tank, you hear us say it all the time. What is your competitive advantage? Just saying it's my passion. Did you ever walk into 7-Eleven and say, wow, I'm shopping here at 7-Eleven because they're really passionate? No, right? And when you go and you think about your own buying decisions. What makes you decide to buy? Now, you might want to support veteran-owned businesses. When it's a toss-up, yes, right? But at some point, you have to grow beyond the community, and you have to be able to say, you can walk into any situation and know without any doubt in your mind, this is why you are the best product or service, and you are the best company to provide that product or service. Period, end of story. If you can't do that, you have to ask yourself, who is doing it? What are they doing that gives them that edge? What allows them to compete or help their customers better than you can? Right? Because that's what it's all about. We all as consumers make buying decisions. And the people who are buying our stuff, product or service, use the same thought process for those buying decisions. So always put yourself in your potential customer's shoes. What is it that I have that makes it a no-brainer for them to buy from me? If it's, I'm nice, I'm passionate, you're in trouble, right? There's got to be something, because even if you can get some customers, how are you going to grow it? How are you going to sustain it? And what's going to keep the next person from coming in and doing the same thing? Because look, with success comes additional challenges. The more you succeed, the more people say, damn, okay, that's an opportunity. I think I can do that better. And so success isn't, look where I'm at. Success is go, 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 right? I mean, people say, wow, you've done this. I'm still going, right? To me, business is the ultimate sport. And there's nobody on the face of the earth that's more competitive than I am. I've said that to Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, you name it, right? Any athlete, any business person. It is the ultimate sport, and we're competing all the time. What is it that gives you an edge that allows you to compete? How do you sustain that, and how do you find more people that say yes to buying that? That is going to be the key to your business. And how do you sell it?
Now, a lot of our veterans, they get out of the service, and the first thing they do is use the GI Bill. They go to school because they think they want to get educated so that they can learn how to create their business or whatever their endeavor is. If a veteran wants to create a business, but he's going to school at the same time, would you advise that he go all in and drop school?
No.
What would you advise that?
No. Did I say that loud enough? No. There's a language to business. I can tell the people who dropped out of school and just started a business, right? Or didn't go to school and just started a business. Usually they're Silicon Valley, right? They got a nice pocket protector that's really cool, and they've geeked out on something, which is fine, right? But at some point, you want to be able to control as much of your own destiny as you possibly can. Understanding accounting, understanding finance, understanding marketing, understanding sales, understanding technology, or at least basics of technology. Those are the languages of business. And if you can't speak them at all, you're always going to be dependent on someone else. You see it all the time with athletes where they just hired somebody who, says they know a lot about business, but because they didn't know how to qualify them, they just trusted them and ended up losing a lot of money, right? You want to be able to say, okay, and look, age is irrelevant. I don't care if you're 97, right, and you'll get your degree at 101, right? If you're selling diapers, you have a lot of experience, whatever it is, right? Age isn't the issue. The issue is knowing and understanding the language of business. Because if you don't, when we're just talking about, taxes and tax planning and accounting and doing all these things. I'll tell you a Shark Tank story. Of 71 plus businesses I've had, probably 12 to 15 have been sold or really crushing it, and you're going to see a couple of them coming up. I've had 10 that were just idiots, right? When we do a deal on Shark Tank, they come on, they pitch, and then once we make a deal there, we're able to do due diligence after the fact. Because a lot of times they'll come on the show and they'll say, well, I have $5 million in sales, when in reality they have $7.50, but they think they're going to get $5 million in sales. So we get a chance to check on them. And one qualification that always causes a huge problem is they don't understand accounting. And they don't have any type of books. And because they didn't understand accounting, they didn't know how important it was. Now you may think anybody should know that. And then you get to it and you're grinding away and all you're doing is putting, receipts into a shoebox. And you have no idea what's going on. And then you bring us in and it just shows us that you don't understand the language of business. It is critical for every example you can find where they didn't understand anything about business, they didn't go to school, they didn't take any business classes. I can show you 10,000 companies that went belly up because they didn't understand. Because of the GI Bill, if you're able to go to school and get a business education. I'm not saying you have to major in business. You can major in whatever, but if you have the chance to take an accounting class, a finance class, a marketing class, do it. Do it. It'll be the best money you've ever spent. If you can go to a local community college and take those classes, do it. Because if you don't understand the language of business, you're always going to be dependent on a lot of other people, and it's always going to cost you more to start. Always.
Wow. So education, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking the School of Hard Knocks, because that's where you learn a lot
Make it a lot harder if you don't know business. Look, any startup's a school of hard knocks. If it was easy, we'd be on his yacht, right? And we'd all be popping bottles, right? Yeah. When did you start your business? Oh, about an hour ago. Oh, congrats.
I wish it was that easy, but
right.
It's not.
It's not, and it just doesn't work that way. Yeah, drinks. Oh, you just start. Come on. It doesn't work that way, and so, no matter what your educational background is, you've taken those classes, you majored in business, you majored in whatever, and you started this company. Every single company is the school of hard knocks. Every single one. Because rare is the time when you just walk in and there's no competition and everybody wants your product. Rare.
Right.
And even then you have to deal with hassles, right? Just growing because things are going well. Some people don't know how to deal with success. And I'm not just talking about it emotionally, how to deal with inventory. I've got a company right now that they had a great year, and so they figured, oh, I'm smart. I have this feel, and so what I bought before should work next year. And they put all their money in inventory. Now they got no cash, and they got real problems. And so you've got to, every business is a school of hard knocks. You've got to have that perseverance, but you've got to do the work. You've got to be prepared. You've got to dig in. Right? Because like I said, if it was easy, we'd all be doing it.
Right. And yes, it isn't that easy. And a lot of our veterans, a lot of veteran-owned businesses are back there. There's one of the companies, Sipsy, I was talking to him, and, they asked, the common response is investment. And what are your thoughts? Just no investment, scale it up your own way, sell? You got to start lean and mean. You've got to, look, there's some products that, if you're starting a car company, yeah, you're probably going to have to get an investment, right? If it's a tech company, you probably don't need investment. If it, there's just so many companies you can start with under $1,000 of your own savings, under $500 of your own savings. That's always been my approach. And the people who just come in with an idea and haven't done anything, that's always a red flag to me. Because if you've done the homework, you're prepared. You know what your competitive advantage is. You know how you're going to sell it. You know who you're going to sell it to. You know the advantage it bestows on your customer. And you know why they're going to come back and buy more, right? Then just go do it. What's holding you up? And the idea, I got to start money. I got to get money to get started. 99% of the time, it's because you just want to have a little bit of a nest egg, or you just want to be able to have a salary to come in. Right? And look, if you got a family, you've got obligations, I understand why that's important. But in those cases, that's where I say, start at night. I worked as a bartender at night when I first got started, and I was living with 6 guys, right? There's a challenge, right? I waited before I had kids because, this is the honest to God's truth. I had a girl I was dating, and we'd been dating almost 5 years, and it was like, I was 28, and she was like, look, you're working all the time. You dream about work. You wake up and take notes, goddammit. It's me or your business. And I was like, what's your name? I was on a mission, right? And yeah, we got to be friends again 10 years later, but but that there's always a give. Right? There's always a challenge. You guys understand what it's like to be challenged. You guys know what it's like to really just have insurmountable obstacles in front of you. This is one of those things you have to really, really, really think through. And I'm going to tell you something that a lot of people, 99% of people, disagree with me on. Right? Everybody says follow your passions. I say that's bullshit. Right? I say follow your effort. It's amazing how we're all passionate about things.
We are all passionate about something. Helping veterans, helping this organization, helping this group, that's great. But no matter what, it all nets out to where do you put your time? Because when people put in their time, you get better at things. And when you get better at something and get good at something, then you have a chance to be great at something. And you know what I've learned? Nobody ever quits anything they're great at. And once you get great at it, it's amazing how passionate you become about it. Follow your efforts, right? Because it's not in the dreaming, it's in the doing.
It is in the doing, and that, yeah. Now, before we open it up to questions, I'd like to say, are there any values that you teach your entrepreneur business? Or, I mean, is there any words of advice?
Yeah, mine's real simple. Karma's a bitch, right?
That's a good one.
You treat your customers right. You respect them. You don't lie to them. There's times when there's going to be little white lies where it's like, oh yeah, I got in my car, and you're running back because you forgot the shit and you got to go get it. Okay, we can live with that. But it always catches up to you, right? Always catches up to you. And so, again, always put yourself in the shoes of your customers, your partners, your vendors. What's important for them? Now, I'll give you another one that I try to apply for all the people who work for me. Mark, how can I be successful, in one of your companies? If you want to be successful as an entrepreneur or as an employee, reduce the stress of those around you. Thank you. Thank you. You'll find, like in every company, every organization, every unit, whatever, you'll find that there's people who think they're indispensable, right? And 9 out of 10 times, they're the ones that create the most stress. And they create all that stress, and they think, look at all this stress around me. I must be indispensable because no one else could deal with all this stress. But what I found is the people that, wait, Ryan, I haven't heard from Ryan. Oh, he's killing it, right? I got his report. Yeah, I've been seeing his reports. He's doing well. I mean, Ryan's just doing his thing. The people who are doing their thing and getting results and getting things done, like Sean Patel is here. He's one of my Shark Tank, bottle breacher, our Riveter. The way I work with my Shark Tank investments, I get a weekly report. I always ask for bad news first so that I can deal with the issue, because I expect good news. That's why I invested in you. But these guys that you're gonna meet coming up here next, they just get shit done, right? The problems they have is maybe they're selling too much and they run out of inventory and somebody gets upset and then they fix it and learn from it and anticipate it so they don't deal with it again. But if you're gonna write something down, write this down. If you want to be successful, reduce the stress of those around you. Everybody wants to work for, buy from, partner with people who reduce their stress levels. Would you like to work with somebody who increases your stress level? No, right? So keep that in mind.
Thank you.